it's Rebecca, and this is a slightly delayed bullet journal setup for March, but I am so incredibly excited to share it with you all because I love how it turned out. Continuing with the song inspiration for each month, I chose Mikrokosmos, which is one of my favorite BTS songs. They used this song as the theme last year for their fan gathering concert, which they call a muster. Obviously, by the name of the song, this theme has a lot to do with the galaxy, but if you look carefully at their poster for their muster, you see them holding planets like they are balloons. I wanted to incorporate the planet balloons while still keeping the dreamy purple and pink clouds from the background of the poster. So keep watching for an easy tutorial on how I made the galaxy stickers and the technique I used for making the dreamy clouds. For the galaxy balloons, I wasn't sure how to get the effect that I wanted on the planets, so the easiest way for me to do this was to design it on Procreate. Another easy way to do this would be to print out pictures of the planets and cut them out if you don't have digital art software. Looking at the poster, each member has their own unique colors to their planet balloon, so for reference, I tried to use the colors from each member's balloon to create 7 unique planet doodles. I didn't record all of the parts where I drew the planets, but I used the same process each time and wanted to break down how I drew one of them for you. I started with a colored circle for the base of the planet using the monoline brush and then using color drop to fill in the circle. Next, I added a layer and took the dry brush tool under the painting tab and went back and forth in one direction across the circle. I did this a couple of times to incorporate the different colors from the reference photo, so even though this particular planet is primarily yellow, it does have a bit of pink scattered throughout the planet. After I was happy with the colors, I added a clipping mask over the current layer and used the soft airbrush tool to add a darker shade of the main color to the right and bottom of the circle. This will help us to give the planet more of a 3D look. I switched the mode of this clipping mask to multiply and lowered the opacity a bit to blend it into the doodle and to make it more subtle. You can also use the hue and saturation tool to adjust the color if you're not happy with the shadow color. In contrast, I also made a clipping mask layer using the white soft airbrush to add some highlights to the top left and a bit to the center of the circle. I changed this mode to screen and again lowered the opacity to blend it into the drawing better. Now going back to the original layer with the dry brush, I played around with the liquefy adjustment tool. I used the twirl right, twirl left, pinch and push adjustments. There was really no order to how I distorted the layer, but it was just fun to try out these tools on Procreate. This method for making the planets could also definitely make them pass as marbles, but once I was happy with how it looked, I was done with the doodle. I find it really helpful to keep everything on separate layers until I'm satisfied with the design, and I merge all of the layers in the end. So jumping ahead for a quick look at the planet doodle with rings, I just utilized the software to layer the ovals for the rings. It was a ton of fun to play around with Procreate for this theme, so with all of the planet designs done, I merged the layers for each doodle and duplicated the doodles so that I could rearrange them for each sticker. Starting on the balloons, I just took an image of each planet and arranged them so that they were in a bunch. Then I drew a black line from each of the planets towards a central point. Where all of those lines intersected, I drew a purple bow out of 2 ovals for the loops and then 2 lines for the bottom of the bow. I also went back in to add a dark purple shadow for the bow. Once I was happy with the bow, all that was left was to add a layer behind and to make a white border for where the cricket would cut. I did end up making the border a little too wide, but I originally thought that it would be a lot smaller once it was printed. Anyway, here are the finished doodles. I have a couple of balloon bunches, some individual planets, and some groupings of the planets. So here they all are printed out now, and finally we can start on the bullet journal. Before I pulled out the journal though, I made myself a stencil of sorts for the clouds that we'll be using for the background. I took a pencil and sketched a quick outline of the tops of some clouds, which were really just various sizes of curves, and used scissors to cut them out. Moving to the journal, I started by writing March on the cover in a bouncy script font. I planned out the page with the galaxy sticker in the center, but since the page would look really empty without anything else, I wanted to make some clouds in the background. For this look, I used a dauber that I bought at an art store. It's kind of like a blending foam that you might use with distress ink. I took a Tombow and added some ink on a plastic palette, and holding the stencil in place, I just used circular motions, gathering some of the ink on the palette and then onto the paper. I used a combination of purple and pink to make this dreamy cloud look on the page. Later, I did add in some yellow as well. I didn't mention yet why I chose this theme, so stating the obvious, I adore BTS, and I knew for a while that I wanted to eventually do this theme. Additionally, this is my birthday month, so I decided to choose one of my all-time favorite songs as the theme, and also I actually use the name Mikrokosmos in most of the games that I play. You can stop by Twitch and see me playing Genshin Impact and Valorant using the name Mikrokosmos. Besides that, I've always been fascinated with the sky and love looking at clouds and stars, so this theme is a bit of everything that I love. After finishing up the clouds, I went ahead and stuck the galaxy balloon sticker in the center of the page. I already was satisfied with how the page turned out, but I wanted to add a couple of gold stars into the sky to really emphasize the idea of the universe from the song. This was a combination of bigger stars and tiny dots across the page. The gold also contrasts nicely against the background, so I'm really happy with how it turned out. Moving on to the song lyric page on the opposite side, I wrote out some of the translated lyrics from the song using a combination of the bouncy script font from the cover and also a simple lowercase sans serif font. These lyrics read, "Shine, dream, smile, oh let us light up the night, we shine just for who we are tonight." BTS uses the metaphor of a galaxy filled with stars to describe how one person is like a single star in a sea of 7 billion others, where they may seem small, yet can mean so much. Each person has their own story and experiences that help to light up the night sky. It is an empowering and encouraging song and shows us that each and every one of us have purpose and meaning. I think the conclusion to all of this is that it encourages us that we are all unique and that we should be proud of who we are. This message of loving yourself is the same one that BTS has worked on promoting for the past few years, and it really just makes my heart so full. Similar to the cover, I just finished up this quote page by adding the cloud pattern in the background. These clouds are really cool because they take shape using the negative space on the page. I've never really done something like this, but it created a sort of watercolor effect without the issue of the page warping with water. I can definitely see myself using this sort of technique in the future. I also added a small galaxy balloon sticker to the bottom left and a planet sticker at the top before adding in some gold stars in the background. Moving on to the monthly spread, I actually made a few changes from last month. I'll get into that in a bit, but to start out, I wrote out March in the top left corner of the spread and kept a section where I'll have 2 boxes for my focus and goals on the left. Next, I did the very tedious task of taping off the boxes, labels, and calendar on the spread so that I could work on the cloud background without worrying about getting the ink inside those boxes. Now, instead of having a habit tracker down the side of this page, I decided that I'm going to just have a box to write down my focus for the month and a box to write down some goals for the month. I think that this will actually be better for me rather than having to feel pressured to fill out a tracker every day. I actually didn't really use my bullet journal much last month just because I felt very unmotivated and quite honestly a bit burnt out. I felt slightly guilty for just resting on most of my free days, but it actually was nice to just chill or hang out with friends rather than always trying to get another project done. I do think that mental health is really important, and it's definitely something that I'm trying to be more mindful of. Once I finished the background, I highlighted the headers for the boxes and the days of the week in a purple mild liner. Then I used a gold pen to draw the border for the sections. On the calendar, I also used a pink Tombow to put a dot in the top left of each box where I'll be writing the dates. When it came to decorating the page, I just used some washi tape and positioned some of the planet stickers around the spread before adding some of the gold stars. I will definitely be updating you all on whether or not I enjoyed skipping the habit tracker for the month. Finally, I will be finishing this theme off with a 2-week weekly spread. I drew inspiration for the layout of this weekly from one of my bullet journal friends on Instagram. Her name is Alicia, and you can actually find her at Awa Studies. All of the inspiration that I use for my theme will be found in the description below, but Alicia does amazing spreads and her doodles are adorable, so definitely go check her out. I wrote out March at the top of this page and then sectioned out the boxes with 6 sections per side of the spread. I'm actually headed out to Boston to visit one of my best friends this weekend, so I don't really need much space in my journal other than to write down some memories, which makes the amount of space in each box perfectly fine. Next, I took the stickers of the groups of planets and placed them around the boxes, alternating between the top and bottom boxes. Then I took a marker to highlight the section where I'll write the day of the week. Instead of splitting Saturday and Sunday, I'm trying it out where there's just one box for the weekend. I put the date next to the day of the week and then was very careful when adding the cloud background to the top and bottom of the spread. I tried my best to not get any ink in the boxes or on the stickers that were already on the page. Luckily, it was quick and easy, so I just added the gold stars around the page and then I was finished. I actually really love this dreamy galaxy theme with the planet balloons inspired by BTS's song Mikrokosmos. This theme has a lot of meaning to me, and I'm actually really happy that it turned out like how I envisioned it. I find that it's usually very rare for that to happen, but let me know what you think in the comments. I can't wait to keep to this song theme for my bullet journal this year, so be sure to subscribe if you want to see more of this concept. I'll also be doing the last weekly spread for this month on Twitch, so you can find that in the description below. Thank you all so much for watching, happy March, and I'll see you all in my next video. Bye!